From the moment he stepped into the world, Elias Navarro learned what silence felt like, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy, suffocating silence that comes from being unseen. He grew up in a small, forgotten neighborhood on the outskirts of a crowded city, where noise filled every street but never reached the inside of his heart. His mother worked 2 jobs, barely home, exhausted beyond words. His father had left before he could take his first steps. At 12 years old, Elias carried a voice inside him that no one had ever heard, because he had never dared to let it out. He wasn't the kind of child people noticed. Thin, quiet, always walking with his head lowered, his shoes worn out from years of hand-me-downs. At school, he blended into every background. Teachers often forgot to call his name during attendance. His classmates didn't tease him, they simply didn't see him at all. But every night, alone in their small 2-room apartment, when the city lights flickered through their thin curtains, Elias would sit by the window and whisper melodies into the darkness. Songs that came from the ache inside him. Songs that felt too big for his tiny room and too raw for anyone else to hear. His only audience was his mother, when she wasn't working. But she never heard him sing, she was always asleep before he ever found the courage, until one night, she woke up early from exhaustion and heard a sound, soft, trembling, but pure, floating from the window. She approached quietly, and what she saw made her hand cover her mouth. Her son, her silent, invisible boy, singing with a voice so beautiful it seemed impossible it came from a child who'd barely spoken his whole life. But when Elias turned and saw her, he froze in fear. "Don't stop," she whispered. "Please don't ever stop." That moment lit a spark in her. She didn't have money, but she had hope. And for the first time in years, she held something that felt like a future. A local singing competition, City Talent Quest, was looking for contestants. The prize wasn't money, it was a scholarship to a music program for young performers. She filled out the form without telling him. When she finally handed him the confirmation, Elias felt his throat close. "Mom. I can't sing in front of people." She knelt in front of him. "You've lived your whole life afraid of being seen. Maybe it's time the world finally sees you." He wanted to believe her. But years of invisibility don't disappear in a single moment. The day of the audition, the auditorium was massive. Brighter than anything Elias had ever stepped into. Children laughing, parents shouting directions, cameras flashing. Elias stayed close to his mother, gripping her jacket like his life depended on it. When they called his name, if anything, the shock was that they pronounced it correctly. He stepped onto the stage, heart pounding so loudly he wondered if the judges could hear it. The room was noisy. Kids whispering. People shifting in their seats. One of the judges was already jotting something on her paper, not even looking up. Elias stood there, trembling, staring into the blinding lights. The host gently reminded him, "You can start whenever you're ready." He couldn't breathe then. Somewhere from the back of the auditorium, he heard his mother's voice, "I see you, Eli." 2 simple words, and something inside him cracked open. He closed his eyes, and sang, not quietly, not fearfully, but with every ounce of pain, loneliness, longing, and hope he had buried his entire life. The first note left his throat like a confession. Pure, emotional, trembling but beautiful. The judge, who hadn't been paying attention, looked up immediately, her pen slipping from her fingers. The room's whispers froze mid-air. Chairs stopped creaking. Someone in the audience gasped. The entire stage, the entire auditorium, every breath in the room, felt completely silent. His voice wasn't ordinary. It was haunting, full of a depth no 12-year-old should possess, as if a lifetime of memories lived inside him. He sang about being forgotten, he sang about wanting to be seen, he sang about love, small, exhausted, but unbroken, like the love his mother gave him every day. His final note hung in the air like a prayer. No one moved for a moment. The silence was so complete it felt sacred. Then, the audience erupted. People stood, cried, clapped, cheered. The judges were visibly shaken. One wiped away tears. Another stood before the others did, but the moment that broke Elias completely was this: his mother, standing in the back, crying so hard she couldn't even clap at first, and the judge in the center spoke through trembling breath, "Elias, I don't know where you've been hiding, but thank God you're here now." Then she reached out and slammed her hand down onto the golden stage pass, their version of the golden buzzer. A single button. One life-changing moment. Thousands of golden papers exploded from above, raining down over the stage like a blessing. Elias dropped to his knees. He wasn't invisible anymore. Weeks later, Elias became the heart of the show. Every rehearsal, every performance, he grew brighter. Not because of fame, but because he finally believed his voice mattered. He received the scholarship. A sponsor offered singing lessons. A local community center helped cover school expenses. People recognized him on the street, not to overwhelm him, but to say, "Your voice touched me." But the biggest transformation wasn't outside, it was inside. He started raising his hand in class. He made his first real friend. He laughed, something he hadn't done freely in years. Sometimes, he still sat by the window at night. But now he sang louder, not hiding, not whispering, and every time he finished a song, his mother, no matter how tired, would be awake in the doorway. "I see you, Eli." She always would.